Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast. Quick question: how is AI reshaping the way major corporations engage with their audiences and protect their data, and so much more in between? Well, in today's episode, my guest is a tech and data expert. He currently serves as a key leader at Constellation, and he is just an all-round great guy and a lot of fun to be around. And today, he's going to be also bringing with him an understanding of the intersection between AI, data security, and innovative marketing strategies. But at the heart of our conversation today is Constellation's proprietary technology, which consists of a groundbreaking AI tool that leverages contextual social listening to elevate the marketing efforts of Fortune 100 companies. But what does that mean? It means driving revenue and enhancing brand engagement. So my guest today will walk me through how these unique capabilities are setting a new standard in the industry. And we'll also dive into the broader AI landscape, explore the strides that tech giants like the usual suspects, Google, Microsoft and Apple are making. And finally, in an age where AI is becoming ubiquitous, how can companies safeguard their data? Well, my guest today is also going to provide expert insights into the challenges and best practices for maintaining data security in a world increasingly influenced by AI. I want to take a time out to express my gratitude to everyone who supports my mission of delivering daily content to you in 165 countries. I couldn't do it without you, and I couldn't do it without my sponsors. And today, I want to give a quick shout out to Kiteworks, who recently told me that defence contractors are facing immense pressure to comply with things like CMMC 2.0 security standards. And finding a secure, easy-to-use file-sharing platform that meets those guidelines can be a big challenge. So, quick shout out to any defence contractors listening out there. CMMC 2.0 compliance doesn't have to be a headache. Consider Kiteworks your fast track to authorization. And as a FedRAMP moderate authorized solution, they cover nearly 90% of CMMC 2.0 level 3 requirements. For you, that means less time, less effort, less cost. And while others struggle with DIY approval processes and clunky apps, you'll breeze through with their zero trust framework, so don't let compliance slow you down, is what I'm trying to say. Simply visit kiteworks.com to get started. That's kiteworks.com to learn more about Kiteworks' secure content platform for CMMC compliance. But with my thank yous out of the way, it's now time to jump right into today's interview with a fantastic guest. So are you ready to explore the future of AI and its impact on businesses? Well, let's dive in. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to New York, where my guest is waiting to join me today. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, appreciate it, Neil. It's really exciting to be here. My name is Nauman Hafiz. I'm the CTO at Constellation. I have been with Constellation for 7 years. And before that, I've just been in the product tech solutions and development area for, 15 plus years before that. And really, I started my career working at RGA, which is like a product shop. And we work closely with Nike and Samsung and Disney and what we were doing for them. And this is 2007, 8, 9, 10, and post that time. So it's really kind of building some of those first iterations of the web, the more interactive web, the more scalable web. And it's so we worked with Nike.com, Nike Store, a lot of those properties that Nike was kind of, starting to create its digital presence and a lot of product work for them. The last project I worked at with RGA was Marvel.com. So we rebuilt Marvel.com from the ground up, content heavy, it's a huge destination for a lot of fans and such amazing content in there, but it's a huge engineering exercise beneath that and, just scale of the type of environment that they have. So that was really exciting. And I was essentially the global infrastructure lead for RGA. And then I joined Constellation to just, own all of our tech and data and IT. And that's what I've been doing for the last 7 years. And at Constellation, I oversee, our engineering, data, and product team. That's how I like to see it. And we're really just building a a couple of different systems. We have a SaaS platform that's primarily focused on the compliance and regulatory verticals. So we work primarily in auto, insurance, and finance and pharma. And what our solution does is not only does it do a lot of analysis on the data side, but it uses that analysis to actually drive content creation and all of those things at huge scale. So it's about unblocking data teams as well as strategy teams, as well as content creation and marketing teams, so that they can really create content that's compliant, ready to go out, and doesn't take, days or months or even weeks sometimes within some of these industries to actually get approved content.
Well, I'm so happy that you've joined me on the podcast today, because one of the things I always try and do on this show every day is demystify technology, and especially in a world where everyone's gone crazy for AI, and there's a lot of business leaders in Fortune 500 companies thinking, well, what does this mean for me and our business, and what does this mean for my customers, and how are we going to use it, and all that stuff. So many questions. And then I come across Constellation, and your proprietary technology leverages AI to enhance contextual social listening for Fortune 100 companies. I thought, well, this is just perfect for the show. So tell me a little bit more about this and what you're doing here.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. I mean, what we found working with some of these large businesses is that there's a few ways that AI can help them. It's really about, they have so much data and so much, sort of proprietary analysis that you have to unpack and unlock and be able to articulate into something actionable. So, our system does partly, it looks at a lot of public data sets. So if you think of the automotive industry and those types of verticals, right, there's a lot of data, whether it's vehicle inventory, whether it's customer reviews, whether it's, specific incentives that OEMs put out. That is usually a big bottleneck, is just being able to pull in that type of data and organize it and structure it in a way that you can leverage it. So we do that type of data ingestion and data kind of organization. And that's just kind of the more public data set. So that's where AI is used, in very specific layers of the stack to whether it's summarize or extract or figure out, what an insight is for a very specific kind of piece of data. And I would say kind of what I'd like to think about in that, to answer your question, is AI has a small piece of this larger sort of stack of decision making, and that's really where it can be useful. A lot of people think of, I'm just gonna throw AI at these big problems and expect to get like an amazing solution and get kind of, something that's just going to take me to the finish line. And that's really not how it pans out, especially for Fortune 100 and those types of companies. It's you really kind of have a whole, stack of data sets and decisions that need to be made, and you can apply AI individually to a few of them. And that's how you start to kind of slowly shorten the gap with some of those very specialized kind of workflows. And that's really where we are focused. We're not using AI to just give you insights, but we're using AI to get you from A to Z faster. And it's a really iterative process to continue to unpack how we leverage it.
And I think there's so many different businesses wanting to be a part of that AI narrative at the moment. But also, if we look, I think every single tech project in every sector, in every organization, people get a little bit wise to some of those expensive IT projects that don't always deliver and don't always get delivered on time. And so now people are starting to look at what's the ROI, what's the business value, what's the measurable difference, and what's the tangible results we can expect. So can you tell me a little bit more about the impact that your technology has had on some of the marketing strategies, revenue growth of some of the biggest brands in the world?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's really about what our tech is used for is, first of all, once you even have an understanding of how you want to market your, specific campaigns, or how you want to, reach out to your audience, a lot of times these companies have trouble getting through the compliance process. They have a lot of lawyers. Everyone's like really hesitant to say, okay, you can create 100,000 personalized pieces of content because there's a review process in there. There's a number of review processes in there, and they just don't have the capability to kind of work at that type of scale. And that's where, first of all, what our software does is it actually generates all the SKUs of content that you need from data. So it uses data mixed with templates and other sort of rules that are built into the system to just generate all your content upfront. So that's, first of all, a huge time savings. That's normally something where that's manual work that either an agency or someone at the team is doing. And it's really error prone and it's really slow in terms of actually kind of making that content. So that's the first part that we use our system to do. And then from there, we actually do a lot of approval and review within our platform. So we structure content in a way that even if you have to review 100,000 pieces of content, you understand the building blocks and you understand what's changing. So if there is some sort of review and compliance process, they don't have to review every item individually. They just need to look at that bigger picture and see what are some of the major pieces that are changing as I go through this content. So that's like a huge KPI improvement, and it allows companies to start to think strategically about, okay, I can reach my audience at a more granular level. I don't need to do this broad type of marketing or broad type of sales initiatives. I can actually say, okay, for every, person who's in a specific set of zip codes, I can give them something that is a little bit more personal and kind of is reflective of their interests. And you can kind of take that and continue to kind of move it forward.
And as quickly as this pace of technology seems to be moving at the moment, there's also a realization it might not move this slow again. There's all this talk of AGI by 2029. So as AI continues to advance, are there any key developments that you see from all the usual suspects, such as Google, Microsoft, Apple, and co, in the AI space? Anything that's got your attention or excites you at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting how, it's become like front and center for every one of these companies. I mean, they've all sort of pivoted, you could say, in a way. I mean, Meta changed their name and then they had to kind of totally, switch focus. Google felt like they were, faltering, but they're all constantly kind of highlighting how unpredictable AI can be. I mean, you see Google Gemini, they just had their big kind of reveal of some of their new devices, and Gemini failed like, a couple of times on stage right there and then, which is like the biggest, that's a massive sort of highlight to like how challenging these systems can be to actually get right. And that's more like a scale problem than it is an intelligence problem even. But really what excites me, to be honest, is personally kind of speaking from a developer standpoint. I think what these tools do more than anything is allow you as a developer to focus on the things that are more, specific to your product and your stack, and allow you to kind of move a little bit faster, whether it's writing unit tests or writing, sort of reviewing a function and seeing if there's some edge cases. And obviously you have to continue to, look at the answers and sort of dissect them. You can't trust everything that these systems tell you, but they are an amazing way to get a first glance and to kind of get a first take on something that you're working on, and kind of become like a handy assistant. And I think they work really well for developer type of tasks initially. I think we're going to see that, scale into many different workflows. But I really feel that they are just another tool in your toolbox that allows you to move a little bit faster and a little bit more confidently. But where you have to be careful is when someone who is not an expert in the field is tapping into those systems, because that's where you tend to trust them more than they, are normally, valuable for. And they tend to give you answers with the level of confidence that can, seem a little bit, reliable, but you kind of need to take that with a grain of salt sometimes and really kind of review the answers. But I do think I'm really excited about how like the day-to-day for some of these roles is just more focused on the things that you care about and less focused on some of the manual grind that tends to happen in any role.
And outside of those magnificent seven, I've lost count of how many tech conferences I've been to where every single keynote begins with, "This is our AI solution." But we've been working on this for 10 years before anybody else.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
but now we're embracing the co-pilot thing, and what we're going to do it ethically and responsibly, blah, blah, blah. But
right.
I mean, how do you envision all these other companies responding to or following the lead of these major players in AI? What do you see here?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, everyone's sort of got their story now. It feels like, I mean, Walmart's like, "Oh, we saved so much time using generative AI," and like everyone's trying to spin, whatever they're doing to incorporate AI in some way. I really think there's sort of these ups and down hype curves that we always see, and I feel like, we kind of get really excited about, GPT-4, 4.0 comes out and everyone's sort of like surfing that wave. And then you start to unpack, okay, it's actually not as smart in some things as the original GPT-4, and so there's always that up and down. And I feel like every team needs to just be a little bit, self-aware of how they're sort of relying on these systems and trusting them. And, I see the magic in what they do, but you really need to kind of take that with a grain of salt and start to really, it's kind of like the original kind of how I was talking about it. Like you might have a whole stack of problems you're trying to solve, and there's certain pieces of that I think AI can do really well. And you need to make sure that you're taking that sort of approach with every way you're tapping into AI and sort of seeing, okay, these are the areas where I can kind of have it put to use and put to good use. And these are the areas where I always need to make sure that, someone's checking the work and someone's kind of reviewing the work. And so for all of these types of companies that at scale, I think there's this rush to sort of talk about these things. I almost feel like they should slow down a little bit, put it to work, see how their results are actually panning out, and then talk about those case studies as opposed to like, putting AI in front of every product term on their website and just sort of saying like it's AI enabled. Like it's easy to just make an API request and like say like, okay, it's AI enabled now, but there's no like actual benefit apart. It becomes like a toy a little bit. It's like, okay, that's fun, but is it actually making my work better and making me work faster? That's always a little bit of the, those in the details.
100% with you. And with AI playing an increasingly significant role in data processing as well, any strategies that you think companies should be adopting to maybe ensure that their data remains secure? Because it's very easy to throw everything into that black box and everything's exciting, but securing, we need to talk about that at some point, right?
No, you really do. I mean, it's so interesting because like we've been, playing around with using AI to do data retrieval and data analysis a lot, like I was saying. And one thing that you start to see is it's also really easy for people to ask weird questions. And then depending on what AI has access to, it's more than welcome to like, show what your root directory contains or show what your environment variables are and things like that. So you really it's almost like more work needs to be spent on the actual, validation of data, validation of answers, validation of the prompt itself, and whether it's something that can be trusted, whether it's something that's, context relevant. So like, it's almost like you really need to be careful of how the logical system in these AIs is working and whether the user's asking for something that makes sense or they're trying to hack the system in some ways. Like it's very easy to say like, okay, I'm going to give it access to this SQL table and then it's going to do something cool and then just like give the user anything they want. But permissions and security, even in that relatively straightforward workflow, are always like the most important thing. And you can see like we did test initially where, if you would ask one of these systems something in a very specific way, it would actually kind of reveal, like specific environment variables, like the API keys and other things that, are just accessible to it because it's running on a specific environment. So again, it's something that you have to be forefront and you have to test every little piece of this. And it's really about also then building automation that tests your sort of model in hundreds and hundreds of different ways. And it's kind of going back to that, Netflix had that, what was it called? Like Chaos Monkeys, where they're basically, this is probably a little while ago now, but they had like a randomized set of a system that would randomly take down services and sort of like cause chaos. And we also need to use a little bit of that philosophy with how we test AI, because you might think, okay, this is what it's supposed to do. I'm going to test it in this way. But it's all the stuff that you're not thinking about where it's actually going to potentially, fail. But yeah.
So if we were to compare your AI-driven tools in the market, especially in terms of things like data security, contextual accuracy, all the things we're talking about with other solutions out there, what is it that you think makes yours stand out? What makes it different from all these other solutions?
Yeah, it's a great question. One thing we really focus on and pride ourselves on is the accuracy of the results that our data systems are responding to. That's the first part. And the second one is the industry's understanding. So if you take automotive, for example, there's many different ways that, you can ask a question, but there's automotive lingo, there's specific lingo that, whether it's automotive dealerships or OEMs or even agencies use. And so our systems understand that. And then they also understand the data sets that are very specific to automotive in that example. And they are tailored to give accurate results or give no result at all. So we'd rather, skew to accuracy and it's like, kind of tailor everything and test everything to meet that. And if it doesn't know the answer, because as you've probably seen, sometimes you can ask these AI systems a question and they just love giving you an answer. So they will just make something up, and it's like, yep, this is exactly what it is. But we would much rather that the system just says, I don't know the answer, or just gives you like, sort of something that is guiding, but not an actual answer. So I would say like those are definitely the key areas that our AI systems are focused on.
100% with you. And I've got a great example of that I've just pulled up there because I was doing a bit of research on an article about a company and how many users they had. And the response, this was Claude AI that told me this. And it says, as of late 2023, the company had 50 million users worldwide. So my response to that was, okay, that's brilliant. But can you back up that figure with a stat and with the source from that stat? And this is the exact response that it gave me. Neil, I apologise for the confusion in my previous response. Upon reflection, I realise I don't have a source for the specific 50 million.
Amazing. Love it. Yeah, exactly. It's like, but I love how it phrased that even upon reflection, it realized.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, for yourself, drawing from your experience at Constellation and your work with major brands, what are the biggest challenges companies are facing when integrating AI into their operations? You must be at the ear of so many different big companies. What are their biggest challenges? What are they talking about?
Yeah, it's again, like everyone's excited about AI, but they're also just unsure how to apply it. And, what we kind of work with them on is taking the things that you know really well. So I think one reason why Constellation has been very successful is we've done all of the tasks from A to Z in a manual way or in some sort of way before we've automated them. So we understand the intricacy of a workflow, and then we understand exactly how to automate it and how to apply AI to it. And I think that sort of philosophy is how a lot of these companies should also sort of work. It's like, yep, you've been taking this long-winded path to get a process done or to get a workflow done. And, those are the processes which you should start to look at. Okay, where can I apply AI, or where can I apply automation? Where can I apply some of these new modernizing solutions? Because you know exactly how to test those systems. You know exactly how to validate them. You know exactly how to, sort of ensure that you're getting to the same point, and the KPIs become, speed and quality and all the other things. And it's much easier to kind of work through that than it is to try to build a new product and apply AI to it and try to solve all these things at the same time. I feel like that you're opening up a lot of questions, and you're kind of, setting yourself up in a way that, high chance of failure. So it's really kind of how we've sort of iterated and sort of evolved from like, okay, we have a tech platform that does all these things, and now we want to reduce that time significantly, but do it just as well, if not better. So that'd be my kind of high level direction.
Love that. And a big question for you here, because I know everything that we're talking about is such a fine, delicate balance. So how do you balance innovation in one hand with security when developing tech solutions that need to scale across such diverse industries? That we make it sound so simple when we're talking about it on podcasts or reading about it online, but of course it is so complex. So how do you balance these?
Yep. No, it's, testing, it comes down to like your, testing should be the responsibility of everyone on the team. I think that's really what it, like people, like developers don't want to write unit tests, write automation tests, and like project managers don't want to test. They just like leave it all in the QA team or the security team or whatever it is. It's really up to every member of the team to be testing and to be checking all parts of the platform or product, whatever they're aware of and they have understanding of. And it really is about becoming smarter in terms of how we write our tests and how we write our automation, because that's, I feel like, a part of the system that is always, that's where you have the least amount of time, because that's when things actually mature enough so you can test them. And then you're trying to meet deadlines, you're trying to make whatever launch dates, etc. And that's the first thing that sort of gets cut. It's like, okay, the testing, the automation, and the actual, security hardening. And I mean, you see with CrowdStrike, you see with all the systems. I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's the lack of testing in the right environments and in the right specific scenarios that lead to those sorts of massive failures. And we, as larger organizations, we need to just spend much more of our resources on testing and quality. And it comes all the way down to the code level and to the infrastructure and to every part of the organization. And that's how, it really needs to be kind of the bread and butter of any of these tools.
And I think that's a beautiful moment to end on. I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your insights today. But before I let you go, I want to ask you to leave one final gift for everyone listening. I always ask my guests to leave either a book that means something to them, we can recommend on our Amazon wish list, or a song for our Tech Talks Daily Spotify playlist. Guilty pleasures are allowed, but what would you like to leave them on?
It's funny. There was a song, I don't even know where I first heard this, but I heard it a long time ago, and then it came up again, and I really, really love it. It's by Joan Baez. It's called Diamonds and Rust. It's a really interesting song because it's from my understanding, it's actually a story of her relationship with Bob Dylan, and it sort of is a really beautiful tale of sort of, a time in her life. It's just an amazing song. And it sort of just came back to me. I don't even know how I heard it again, but it really is something that, just kind of blew my mind again. And the way the tune is and the way the song. So anyway, kind of go down a rabbit hole a little bit, but yeah, I think it's a great addition to your playlist.
Wow, if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me and Bobby McGee. Well, there's another song for me right now for another day. But I knew you were a classic guy, and you'd have a great tune lined up for me, an absolute banger. So I will get that added to a Spotify playlist. And for anyone listening, just want to find out more information about you, connect with your team, or just dig deeper on any of the tech and the stuff that you're doing here, where would you like to point everyone?
Yeah, I mean, our website, helloconstellation.com, is a great place to find all of our channels. I don't have a huge presence on any channel personally, but, I'm always sort of around, and you can sort of find me through the website and other methods.
Well, love chatting with you today, learning more about Constellation's proprietary technology, how it uses AI to perform contextual social listening, improving marketing capabilities and revenue for so many Fortune 100 companies. That is huge on its own. But I also love that delicate balance we're talking about keeping data safe with AI in the picture now. I think we could talk for ages on this. So I'd love to get you back on next year, maybe, see how things are evolving. But just thank you for sharing your story today.
Amazing. Appreciate that, Neil. It's been great to be on.
So as we close today's episode, I think one thing is clear. AI is not just transforming how companies market to their audiences, it's redefining an entire business landscape. And my guest today offered a little glimpse into the future of marketing, a future where AI-driven contextual listening becomes a powerful tool for enhancing customer engagement and driving revenue. Real, tangible differences, real metrics behind them as well. But with great power comes great responsibility. I've watched enough Spider-Man in my life to know all about that. And as AI continues to evolve, so too do the challenges of keeping that data safe. And I cannot thank my guest enough for highlighting the need for companies to stay ahead of the curve by adopting robust security measures that account for the complexities that AI introduces. So, what steps will your organisation take to harness the power of AI while safeguarding its data? Reflecting on our conversation today, how could some of the things we talk about be applied to your business? As always, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @NeilC.Hughes. Let me know your thoughts. Other than that, thank you for joining me today on this journey into the future of technology. I'll be back again, usual time, same place, but until next time, stay innovative, stay secure, and hopefully I will speak with you all again tomorrow.